Hi guys! So in this video, I want to share with you how I lost weight. From 84 kg as at November, December last year to current day where I've lost about 11 kg. And I'm so excited and I feel so much better and lighter and happier and healthier and yay! So why not? So how did I do it? I think before we go into the how, I like the title of Simon Sinek's book, which is Start with Why. Why? Why did I do it? I think, first of all, I realized that I was not healthy. I kept having these migraine headaches. I kept having pains in my joints, especially in my ankles. If I woke up in the morning and I tried to get up, I felt pain, and it took a while to waddle before I could finally stretch my feet. I felt like I was carrying additional weight. Now, if you're carrying a backpack, for example, you know that you're carrying a backpack. So it's a foreign body, it's on your back. You should feel the weight. But if you're carrying yourself, you shouldn't be aware of the weight of your body, So I felt aware of my body, like I was carrying a heavy load. And that wasn't okay. So I wanted to do something about it. Secondly, I realized that a lot of younger people were dropping dead or having mega diseases, serious diseases, because they were just not paying attention to these details. And I know better than that. I'm a pharmacist by training. I've worked in hospitals. I've seen all kinds of cases. I didn't want to become a case myself. And I felt like I was getting there. I checked my blood sugar and it was fine. I checked my blood pressure and it was fine. So, does that mean everything is fine? No. I knew I wasn't fine. So, that was my why. So then, next step is, now what? Awareness, they say, is the beginning of solving any problem. Now, what I was aware of was like I've described, but I was also aware of how I got there. And for many of us, we are in denial. We don't want to accept that we are responsible for how we got to where we are. You need to own it. You need to accept responsibility. I have been eating too much. I have not been exercising enough. I have been irresponsible with my diet. I have been irresponsible with my resources. You get what I'm saying? You need to own it and accept responsibility. So I did that. I took stock, realized I wasn't eating healthy. I realized what I should be eating versus what I was eating were not synchronizing. And the main thing was really that I was eating without planning my meals. So I was eating whatever was available. And for many of us, if you eat what is available, you will eat a lot of fast foods, you would eat a lot of junk, you will eat a lot of sugar, because those are easy to find. And I didn't want to keep doing that. And so I began to work on my mind, which is the important part. I had done several diets before, so my mind was in this state of almost giving up, where you're just kind of fatalistic and you're telling yourself, I've tried everything, it doesn't work. And then you're surprised that it's not working. It won't work because you already said it doesn't work. But I had to go back and think and remember a time when I did a diet that was really good for me. And I lost a lot of weight and I felt quite healthy at first, but then I started having problems. And it was the problems that made me go back to eating carelessly. So I started having cramps, severe cramps, and I started having increased cholesterol, and I knew that I was probably getting into trouble. I started having dizzy spells, I was on a ketogenic diet. It's possible I wasn't well guided. I don't know. But be that as it may, I had to take stock and remember how I got to where I was. And now where I was I wasn't planning meals, I was just eating, right? So I now had to learn. So that's the next thing. I had to learn what I needed to know, because the things I knew had got me to where I was, but then the things I needed to know would take me to where I wanted to go. That's a rhyme, isn't it? Okay, so I now had to learn, for example, that a lot of what I perceived as hunger was not hunger, in fact. It was simply thirst in some cases. And then in a lot of cases, it was the sugar addiction. I had become a sugar addict. And many of us adults are sugar addicts. So what we feel as hunger, that trembling, that sense that, oh, I have to eat, otherwise I'm going to faint. Many times it's the reaction that you would have if you were on a drug. It's like being a drug addict. Sugar behaves like a drug in your body. And so I now had to use learning to get rehabilitated, to understand that sugar was not my friend, that sugar was treating me badly. And I began to see sugar differently, no longer as my friend and something to make me feel good, but as an enemy and something that wanted to hold me captive. Maybe I'm being too dramatic, but you get my point. And what that did for me was I don't see, all the pastries and sweets that used to be so appealing as so appealing anymore. I see them as what I now know them to be. And so it was easy for me to turn them down. I also realized that the more I reduced my sugar intake, the less insulin production, because insulin production responds to high levels of sugar. And so if I could reduce my sugar intake, then I could reduce my insulin production and ultimately reduce the demand for sugar in my body and reduce my risk of becoming diabetic. So many things. And so that's what I started doing. And the more I reduced my sugar intake, I started doing an intermittent fasting diet. And then I would eat to be full, but just be full and drink water, and I'll be fine. And I found that because I reduced my sugar intake, my demand for sugar reduced. I no longer felt hungry the way I used to. So that's why I feel like this is such a sustainable thing. I'm so excited. I'm like, look, I have to share this. Because before I had done diets that needed so much willpower. You have to control yourself and resist the food until 6 o'clock. And it's 6 o'clock, thank God. I can now eat. Yum, yum, yum. That's not sustainable. You can't do that for too long. But here I am. I don't have that desire to eat the way I used to. I eat to be satisfied, and I'm satisfied, and my body is fine, and I'm okay. And I actually get full. And it's exciting. I used to have to wear things to hold my tummy in. And now here I am. I can't show you, obviously, but I have a belt on, I have a dress on. I'm not wearing anything in there to hold my tummy together. It feels really good. Now, how did you do it? I know you want to know the how, but understand that why is very important, and you need to deal with that first before you get to how. So how? So we started with being accountable to each other. And I say we, my husband and I. And we started being accountable to each other. Funny enough, he was out of town, and we had to now we started using the same YouTube videos to work out, and we would account to each other. It was short, barely 10, 12 minutes. And we'll do the workouts, and then we will tell each other what we ate, or we'll have a plan to eat something, and we will just report to each other. And by the time he came back, we just continued with that, and that's a form of bonding. That's very good for a couple. Okay, and it just helps us to be one, accountable to each other, to work as a team. And now it's easy to model that to our children as well. That look, a healthy lifestyle is better for you. They've seen the transformation and it's remarkable. And all this in 4 months. Now, how did we do it? So there's the exercise. There's also the mindset that helps us to want to do the exercise. And you know what? At first, when you start exercising, it's not easy because your body is used to just chilling, just lounging, just not doing much. But the more you do it, the more used to it your body gets. And now I don't want to skip any day. I had an injury that required me to stop exercising for about a week. I couldn't wait to get back. And of course, when I got back, it was like, well, maybe not restarting, but it was not easy to get back. But I was willing to do the work because I knew where I had been and I wanted to get back there. And so, yeah, that's my story so far. So I'm excited that I've lost 11 kg out of my target goal. I'm not going to tell you my target. Should I tell you my target? No, I'll tell you when I hit it. But I'm excited that this has worked for me and that it's working. And it looks like it will continue to work because I love the sustainability of not feeling like I can't eat. And then we found alternatives to the foods that we thought were staple and had to be the meals that we ate. Now we eat other things and they work. And I like the way I feel the way I like the way I feel the way I like. Okay, so I'm not a good dancer, but I'm getting really. Hey. Okay, so thank you so much for listening. Before I start being extremely silly, so if you liked this video, don't forget to share it with your friends and also to subscribe. Thank you so much, and see you again on another video where we'll talk about life and love and marriage and health. Until we meet again, goodbye for now.